So how much does it cost you to go into the red? The City Watchdog says probably too much. It says many of the banks have high charges and it's often difficult to find yourself a better deal because the wretched things are so complicated. James Daley's here. He's a long-time campaigner for consumer rights and nowadays he runs a website called Fairer Finance, which assesses the banks and others on the quality of the service they provide. Staggering number of overdraft, James, of course. There's about 30 million accounts that have the potential for an overdraft. And the Watchdog says it's just almost too difficult for anyone to work out what they actually cost. What's the complexity?
Well, what's happened over the last few years, Declan, is that the cost of overdrafts has come down a little bit, but it's just got more complicated. So you remember 10 years ago, it used to be a matter of, here's your interest rate, 15, 20% annually. Nowadays, it might be a daily fee, it might be a monthly fee, you might have a buffer so that you can go over your limit a little bit before you start getting charged. And so it's just incredibly difficult for customers to compare like with like when they're looking at bank accounts. And sometimes what might look to be cheap isn't as good value as you'd think it was.
Well, this is particularly the point with these daily fees, because we were talking about the new Barclays overdraft arrangement on this programme a fortnight ago, and it's got a new daily fee, and you look at that little price and it doesn't look very much at all, but then you add it up over the course of the month and you'll find that the typical customer is paying far more for their overdraft, or could pay far more than they were previously.
Well, exactly. If you turn some of those daily fees into annual interest rates, they actually convert into hundreds of % a year for small overdrafts. And so the really important thing these days is to try and find an account that's right for your circumstances. You can't really compare like for like without doing some sums and working out, well, is this one going to be right for me, given how much I go into the red each month?
And at that point, that's when most people just throw away the pencil and give up.
Well, exactly. But the good news is there are actually some great services out there now to help you do that. The Money Advice Service, which is sponsored by government, has a fantastic tool that allows you to compare accounts by entering how much you think you're probably in the red each month. The important thing here is to be honest. A lot of people sort of think, oh, you know what, I probably won't go over my limit very many times a year. But that's when it starts to get really expensive, if you bust your limit.
Yes, and these are not trivial sums. You're talking about, if you're on the wrong deal, it could be costing you 50, 60 pounds each and every month.
Well, yes, exactly. Hundreds of pounds a year. I mean, the worst excesses in this market have thankfully been shaved off now, but there are still banks out there charging very high fees for people who go over their limit. And so if you think, actually, I am the kind of person that goes past the limit 6 times a year, look for a bank with really fair fees for unplanned overdrafts.
And just tell us again, what was that site to look at for the calculator and the comparator?
Moneyadvice.org.uk.
OK, James, thank you very much. James Daley, thank you.